guys, Pie Guy Rules here, and welcome back to the topic of discussion. Today's topic, a much-loved Nickelodeon cartoon. More specifically, Rocko's Modern Life. Yeah, I tweeted that I bought the complete series from ShoutFactory.com recently, and there will be a DVD review coming soon. I just have to get through all of the bonus features and stuff. I gotta, prepare for the review. But yes, this series, this topic of discussion is on the series. It's not on the DVD set. It's on the series. I've mentioned the series in Plot Points, one of my other shows that I do with Wiley, and I talked about the inappropriateness of the show. I'm gonna put that aside for right now. I'm gonna judge it as if it were a show that was specifically made for my age group. My age group now, not my age group when the show was released. I'm gonna judge it like that. It is awesome. Like, the show is just so... It's so weird, There are episodes that are just really, really weird. Like, really surreal. And then there's other episodes that just nail the parody. Like, it hits the nail on the head. And what do I mean by this? Well, there's an episode, it's like a really early episode, where Rocko and Heifer go on a plane. And the entire episode is just them on a plane. There's not really a plot. It's just, they're on a plane, and a bunch of horrible gags, the horrible things that happen to you when you're on a plane happen. And there's so much of that like, I can so appreciate now. I rode on planes as a kid, but, you're not worried about luggage or anything as a kid. You're not, your parents deal with that kind of stuff. As someone who's had to fly by himself a few times, and, had to fly without his parents and everything, I gotta say, like, it can be a very stressful experience. Parts of it, the fact that you're always gonna fly, there's always gonna be either a baby or some obnoxious kid sitting around you. The reclining seats are always gonna be, like, don't recline enough, or you recline too much and you bump into the guy in back of you. They're just these awkwardnesses, and they're exaggerated, of course, because it's a cartoon. But every single thing in that episode, like, I've experienced, I can say that is so true, like, that is an exaggeration, but it's so true, that's one of the things a cartoon can do. And that's one of the, the show does it quite a bit, Rocko's, like, laundry day is a very dangerous day, accentuating the fact that even what seems like mundane tasks in the adult world are really annoying, like laundry day, like garbage day, like all stuff that as a kid you wouldn't think is that much of a hassle, but it is, and what I like about Rocko is that I can identify with him, because Rocko's just he's just this guy, he doesn't ask for trouble, trouble comes in the form that he has friends that drag him into trouble, or that the world is an insane place, or like, he tries his best to be polite and kind and not bother anyone, but the world forces him into yelling sometimes. And that's the show. The show, most episodes of the show is just about how you try to do mundane things. Rocko's modern life. It is the modern life of an adult, or a young adult even, in this day and age, in the 90s, although it still seems surprisingly some things are relevant still in the 2010s, or whatever we're in right now. But yeah, like, it nails that so much. And that's where a lot of, not even just the humor, just the brilliant observations come from. And I mean, and there are episodes that aren't that. There are other episodes that make fun of things like the animation industry. There's two-parters. There's the first one where we find out that the big kids have a son, and he works for Hollywood, and Rocko has to go down there, and then they see Hollywood, and there's, of course, a bunch of parodies of that. And then there's another one where Rocko, Hef, and Filbert have to make their own cartoon. And that is one of the greatest episodes. And then, speaking of great episodes, something that has always stuck with me, the songs from the episode have always stuck with me. The recycling episode, the Go Green episode. RYCYCLE, recycle. The great episodes, like, just so interesting. And okay, so that's part of why the show is great, and the other part is that it is so unashamed, unabashedly filthy. Like, it doesn't try to cover it up. It really doesn't, you know? I mean, there's an episode called Schnitheads, and not even just the name, the fact that the episode is about Heifer joining a cult. A cult that deals with wieners. Like, I'm not making this up, you know? And ignoring all ramifications of, you know, is this appropriate for children? Is you know, what does it mean that these people are inserting these horrible things in stuff intended for children? Ignoring all that and assuming that it was made for, you know, my audience, my age group here, you know, college kids, basically. This show is just bloody hilarious. Like, and what makes it great is that how surprising it is. Like, you don't expect it. And not even dirty jokes, just like, on any given episode, three random background characters will either die, randomly explode, have body parts ripped off of them, just for a cheap gag, you know? And I mean, there's things like Heifer goes to heck. I said heck, yes. Like, you know, he dies, like, there's a lot of surrealism, you know, and it so blends the parody of the real, you know, realistically, to an exaggerated point, you know, displaying life as a responsible person, basically, and the surrealism, and it's great. It is truly a great show, and I don't know. There's 52 episodes. It doesn't, you know, it's not too long, but it's also not too short. You know, I really recommend it. I really do. You know, regardless, like I said, I've got complicated feelings as to, you know, how it pertains to children and should it have done what it did, and, you know, this and that. But, I mean, judging it as a work of art, like, it even says on the DVD here, you know, like, it encourages one of the few brilliant cartoons to break through the genre and emerge a truly original television experience. Rocko inspires the artist in us all. You know, and I looked at that when I first got this, and I was like, well, that's silly. You know, this is just, it's a stupid cartoon. It's not. It really is kind of a piece of art, honestly. It stands out so much from the other Nicktoons. It was the fourth Nicktoon produced. The first after the first three got greenlit, the Rugrats, Doug, and Ren and Stimpy. This was the first one after that. And I don't think there really is another cartoon like it. Yes, there are cartoons like Ren and Stimpy that are surreal and violent and whatnot, but you know, from what I do know about the show, and I admit it's not much, it's not, you know, it's not realism the way Rocko is, and I really, you know, I would be interested in seeing Joe Murray create a cartoon for adults. Maybe he has. I don't know. I know he does comics, and I know he did Camp Lazlo. But I mean, had the show actually been intended for a teenage audience or an adult audience, had Adult Swim existed at the time, it really would be interesting to see it. Although I guess, really, how much further could they have gone? The second episode has Mrs. Bighead trying to seduce Rocko. And I mean, I wouldn't want to see Ren and Stimpy Adult Party Hour happen. No. But regardless, it is truly a great cartoon, and I encourage you all to seek out the series. It's a fun show, you know, and you can especially appreciate it if you're my age, or an adult, you know. I mean, I'm not saying kids aren't going to enjoy it, but, you know, it's kind of like, it's definitely like an aged fine wine, you know, like, the older you get, the more you really appreciate the show, for what it is and what it does, and, there's nothing else like it. I can't recommend it enough. Alright, Pie Guy Rules, out. Hey guys, don't forget to subscribe if you liked me, like this video if you, well, like this video, and comment if you have an opinion on anything that I just said. Oh, and I also have a Twitter. Follow me at Pie Guy Rules. I usually respond to any comments or questions that I get. Pie Guy Rules,